back at it again with the truth, period. That's all we have. And you see what I got on now. No you. What we about to get into is we're gonna go back. Before we go back, I'm just gonna talk to y'all about what the truth is within each and every one of us individually. So y'all knows I'm always on here by myself. Me and my kNOw character, because like I said again, nobody don't want the truth. People rather live in la la land than know the truth or want to know the truth. It is what it is. I ain't tripping with it. A cold day for you. That's my little name on here. And it means something. It means exactly what it says. It's a cold day for you. If you don't know yourself 100% through and through. The trip is everything that you know was taught to you to believe in. But when you think about the truth and some of the things that was taught to you, and now that you know the truth, is a lot of it was bullshit. What do you do with the rest of the shit that you've been thinking about is bullshit? It's time to reboot the original computer, which is your brain, and reprocess basically all that shit. Because we would lie to people. And I'm gonna get on here every day, all day if possible. And I'm gonna say it. We've been lied to by some rich sons of bitches. Some rich sons of bitches that do not want the truth to come out. That if we was to think for ourselves and come together as the conscious thinking motherfucking people, it's so much that we can live there and do. I'm just saying. The truth is just that, the truth. And then each and every one of us to stand on it. So we're gonna go with this September 11 bullshit. Cause it's time for us to get this shit straight. Let's go.
Fire test by Cardington found that
Let's go at the beginning.
in October of 2001, Scientific American told us that they just don't build them as tough as the World Trade Center. Considering that Meridian Plaza in Philadelphia burned fiercely for 19 hours yet never collapsed, how could the South Tower at the World Trade Center fall after burning less than 1 hour? How could the North Tower fall after burning only for 2? How could the jet fuel have caused the collapse, since recent fire tests by Cardington found that a steel building survived fires and experiments with extreme temperatures beyond the range possible with jet fuel?
As for the heat of the fires, listen to the radio communications of these New York City firemen. Isolated pockets of fire. 2 water lines to knock them down. FEMA's executive summary relays that much of the fuel in the planes, jet-grade kerosene, was consumed by the initial fireballs and the following few minutes of fire.
The Twin Towers were composed of 200,000 tons of steel and 425,000 cubic yards of concrete. The core of each tower was a rectangular pillar 87 by 133 feet, comprised of 47 steel box columns ranging from 36 by 16 to 52 by 22 inches. An analysis released in 1964 claims that the buildings were investigated and found to be safe in an assumed collision with a 707 traveling at 600 miles per hour. Such collisions...
Just ping the collection location through to you. Pick up the goods and bring them back to the warehouse. I don't anticipate any trouble.
Inside, there was the core. A rectangle of 47 columns made of 4-inch thick steel at the base, thinning with increasing height. The core combined might with ingenuity. The story you were told. 2002 documentary Why the Towers Fell, PBS creates a video model.
Once the trusses failed, the floors they were building cascade down with a force too great for them to stand. The result is what's called a progressive collapse, as each floor cascades down the one below.
What remains standing? The tall, indestructible core. Why does PBS fail to explain the complete disappearance of the Twin Towers cores?
Since the black smoke coming from the buildings means that the fire is oxygen starved and could not have reached its maximum temperature of 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, and steel melts at a much higher temperature of 2500 degrees Fahrenheit, nearly 700 degrees hotter than the maximum temperature of the fire, how could cleanup crews have found melted steel in basements? Why did Fire Engineering magazine tell us that no steel building has ever been destroyed by fire? That the World Trade Center investigation was a half-baked farce?
How do these firefighters describe the collapse of the North Tower?
Started running. Floor by floor, it started popping out.
It was if they had detonated.
Yeah,
There were
detonated.
plans
Yeah.
to take down a building.
All the way down.
Chief Albert Turry told me that there was another explosion which took place. So according to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building.
His theory.
Almost looks like one of those planned implosions.
His
As the
theory.
demolition team set off,
His
when you see
theory.
the demolitions of these old buildings,
Think
it
about that
marks
word,
on
people.
itself, and it is
They
not
use that
made
bitch a
for.
lot.
Generally speaking, for a building to collapse in on itself like that, it would seem to indicate that there could have been an explosion, a bomb planted on the ground that would make the building collapse within itself.
By that evening, eyewitnesses and experts alike were rushing to defend the official narrative of events, claiming that raging jet fuel fires melted the steel inside the Twin Towers.
I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just rain right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Marlene Davis is the Dean of Architecture at the University of Tennessee. She calls the 110-story tall twin tower tube structures. That means there are no internal columns holding it up.
You know, when we saw this yesterday, people said, oh my goodness, there was a bomb on there. There must have been a bomb that collapsed. Must have been a bomb below. Right, that finished the job. Well, it turns out we heard from experts who said that, you know what, the fire on those floors probably 1,500 degrees. Steel can only withstand so much because the steel structure that holds the building up was on the outside, and essentially the building started to melt and it gave way and it toppled.
Oh, you hear how they lied?
No steel building.
You hear how they lied? Boy, you hear how they lied, people?
Just who was behind the terror attacks?
Larry Silverstein became landlord on July 24th, less than 2 months before the attack. He then had control of the maintenance and security departments, and he began to replace security personnel. Silverstein brought Frank Lowy into the deal to become landlord of the underground shopping mall. Lowy is a billionaire who owns shopping malls in several nations. After the towers disintegrated, Silverstein demanded insurance companies pay him twice what the policy stated, on the grounds that each tower underwent separate attacks. What a coincidence that after these guys got control of the World Trade Center, Osama bin Laden decided to destroy the entire complex.
Nah. After they lived there and got high insurance on it and didn't want to clean the asbestos up in it.
We're told rescue workers have recovered a passport in the debris. It belonged to one of the dead hijackers.
Another development on Saturday, New York officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center.
How?
Well, Dan, not far from here, a passerby found
Wow.
the passport of one of the hijackers. Evidence this disaster scene is also a crime scene.
Wow.
Passports are so magical and so wonderful that, like Gollum's ring, they call to you. They call to who they want to find them, but not a normal mortal. No. The ring calls out only to FBI agents.
Wow.
So the magical Thor's hammer
Wow.
passports go out of the building, down to the ground,
And FBI
then
agents
once
find
they're on the ground in feet of dust and millions of papers
FBI fans
the FBI
find that
finds
day.
not one but two
That day.
of these shards
That
of Thor's
day.
hammer. And again, it calls out to them psychically, and they go to it and they have it.
The 9/11 Commission says the CVRs and FDRs from American 11 and United 175 were not found. Yet, the FBI claims to have found the passport of Saddam al-Sakami, which managed to fly out of his pocket through the explosion and onto the streets of Manhattan below. So, 4 different black boxes, made from the most resilient materials known to man.
Didn't survive. But his passport did. Wow, boy, did you see how the lie? If y'all can't see the fucking lie, and I'm talking to you 226 people who dumbed down this video. I'm talking to you. Use an ass to you called the ass the new pussy, cause use that ass liquor. And you are what you eat. You ass licking fucking freak. I'm just saying.
A red bandana and a Kingdom of Saudi Arabia driver's license. Although 757 managed to obliterate itself upon impact, paper and fabric managed to survive without a scratch.
How stupid are we as people believing this bullshit? But guess what? We believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. And Jesus was coming back to save us. So they lied good. They lied good.
Did not identify Muhammad Atta or any other 9/11 hijacker. Can we be certain that the hijackers were radical Muslims on a suicide mission?
Nope. Nope.
Or is there a possibility that they were trained, funded, and protected in our own country?
Yep.
Where is this mysterious chart that purportedly says that Atta was connected in some real way to these other hijackers? We'd love to see it.
The company responsible for the chart, Orion Scientific Systems, would claim that only 2 charts were produced and that Atta was not present on either one.
These charts were all done by the data mining efforts. So the Orion Corporation lied to the Senate Judiciary Committee staff. All data mining efforts. And yet the company said to the Senate Judiciary staff, we don't have any of those charts. They're not ours. Well, here they are. And their logos are on each one of them.
And last but not least, Muhammad Atta's father claimed to receive a phone call from his son on September 12th. On September 20th and 27th, Mueller admitted on CNN that there is no legal proof to prove the identities of the hijackers. So, if there's no proof that the hijackers were members of Al-Qaeda, or if they were even on the plane in the first place, what justification do we have for bombing Afghanistan?
None.
Captain Russ Wittenberg was a pilot for the Air Force, Pan Am, and United Airlines. He flew both the 757 and the 767 airplanes that were hijacked on September 11th, so he knows how much practice is needed to fly those planes. He also doubts that these pilots, ex-military known as men who could handle themselves in a fight, would give up the cockpit to a couple of guys with razor blades, since that would put everybody in danger.
Hello, you're through to Pegasus Lifestyle Management. How can I help?
Flight 77 looks small in this computer simulation because...
Thank you, sir. Your spectacular aircraft is now ready for you at our nearest airfield.
The high concentration of people means that crashing an airplane into the Pentagon could kill thousands of people. Yet the terrorists hit the only portion of the building that was almost completely empty because it was being renovated.
The section hit was the headquarters of Naval Operations, Naval Intelligence, and the Navy Command Center. Army personnel were also killed. A number of accountants and budget analysts were also present at the time and killed in the attack. The Arlington County After Action Report states that important budget information was in the damaged area. It's interesting that 24 hours prior, Donald Rumsfeld publicly made this announcement.
According to some estimates, we can now track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Wow, $2.3 trillion.
Back on October 2000, the Pentagon conducted MASCAD, a mass casualty exercise which simulated the impact of a Boeing 757 into the building.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that these people would take an airplane and slam it into the
Y'all just did a fucking exercise.
Slam it into the Pentagon.
Nobody in our government, at least. And I don't think
And they fucking each other, them two. So you know they in cahoots together. It's true.
U.S. military planners did envision and practice those very scenarios. As reported by USA Today, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, conducted exercises with fighter jets, simulating hijacked planes flown into the World Trade Center in the 2 years before the attacks. Pentagon planners also envisioned
2 years before the attack.
5 months before it happened. If the terrorists crashed into any other area of the Pentagon, thousands more may have died. Furthermore, one of the purposes of the renovation was to increase the strength of the windows and walls to make them better able to withstand an attack. To summarize, the pilot did a spectacular 270-degree turn to hit the strongest part of the Pentagon with the fewest.
What you saying, girl?
Why did NORAD fail to stop the attackers 4 times on September 11, 2001? 3 times after they knew the planes were hijacked and intent on mass murder. How could this happen when NORAD had successfully intercepted off-course and suspected hijackings 67 times during the year prior to 9/11, according to the Associated Press on August 13, 2002? Why did Condoleezza Rice lie that the U.S. had no idea that terrorists would use hijacked airliners when Richard Cheney was commanding war games on 9/11, chasing phantom hijacked aircraft? Why were our Air Force planes diverted from intercepting the real hijacked airplanes?
Whereas Mission Commander ordered his only 3 other planes from Virginia to scramble and fly north to Baltimore. Minutes later, when he was told...
What's going on with you, bro? I'm living. Living in love, baby. Putting on here this line about our government, boy, them lying motherfuckers. Oh, them lying motherfuckers. When like I say, the shit that they showing now, if the people don't understand the old stand to getting, we being lied to still. You want to be lied to. You don't want the truth.
There are millions of people around the world who are disappointed with this dismal failure of the American government to protect us. Theodore Roosevelt warned us.
Fuck Theodore Roosevelt.
There must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, it is morally treasonable to the American people.
Wow.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
Never tolerate them.
Concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves.
Wow.
Away from the guilty.
You the guilty, you bitch, you.
And the fun that people get watching an old building being demolished, and they're wired very carefully for days. And it's a very careful operation in order to make sure that the building comes down safely. I think the last one we saw was when they brought down one of the old casinos in Las Vegas. I mean, this is just stunning to see these things come down.
More on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago. I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attack. We'll probably find out more now about that from Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy.
Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
New York very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly, the subway lines are not working properly. And we know that down there near the World Trade Center there are 3 schools that are being turned into triage centers for emergency treatment.
Well, unfortunately, we've lost the line with Jane Stanley.
It looks like a typical controlled demolition. It came down to the ground at 6.6 seconds, which is basically free fall speed, which is basically means there's no resistance.
Let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people.
No, bitch, our government did that shit. I told him to pull the building.
It's pull. They made that decision to pull.
You made the decision, you lying bitch. You let them told on yourself, you dirty bastard. You dirty bastard.
Innocent men, women, and children from America and many other nations who had done nothing to harm anybody. Yet Al-Qaeda chose to ruthlessly murder.
Oh, bitch, shut up, bitch.
Credit for the attack.
Bitch, shut up. Al-Qaeda ain't kill nobody. Oh, bitch, shut up.
They have affiliates in many countries and are trying to expand their reach. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts to be dealt with.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world, using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon and the budget analyst office where DOD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001.
$1 trillion. It's not $1 million. $1 trillion.
The pundits knew within hours. The administration knew within a day. And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site. We can do that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-Tech, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors.
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government could envision flying airplanes.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. NIST is classified data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. He lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his device as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives met and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. If you have any questions about this story, you are a paranoid, tinfoil, dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country, you will never, ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, NSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.
What the hell? They stay fucking with me, boy. They stay fucking over me. They stay fucking over me. They boy, the algorithm just stay dogging me, boy. They dog me. They dog me, boy. They dog me. They've been dogging me all day, all day. How dare you? You saw me press the button for the parachute to come out, and I had a parachute on. They turned him completely around and let him go straight down. Do you hear me? That ain't never happened.
Peter Jennings said he was
You didn't give Merriweather the keys to your place, did you?
It never happened like that.
Because they just waltzed in there and made off with your weapons
you
stockpile.
You saw me panicking.
Get
Like
back
it was
and
really
try to stop them
happening.
before they fly
Like it
off
was
to the
really happening
Valkyrie and you
because
never see it again.
I know because it was like it was really happening because I couldn't do nothing about it. But like I said again, I lost that mission. That's a wrap.
Some of the firefighters who I know going into
See?
the building, so, and we were in a building in which we were trapped for about 10, 15 minutes. Now,
This
we set
is
up
kicks, bro. This
Barclay Street, which is right there with the police commission and the fire commission.
I love it. I love it, though. I love it. It showed me what the truth is. And I listened to my boy. He was talking about I listened to my boy. He was talking about. Thank you, sweetie. He was talking about going to court, and this boy he wrote his own promises notes given to them people, and it's like he ain't in jail. And what he was explaining, D, I was like this here. This makes so much motherfucking sense. Don't make it. I'm stuttering now. I'm stuttering now because I'm sitting there saying to myself, I don't need nobody to represent me because I'm giving myself to them for them to be my beneficiary. You see what I'm saying? So if the judge were to tell my motherfucking liar, to shut the fuck up, I'm done. Because my representative is shut up. And he's representing me. When I don't need him representing me, because I'm not really the John Knopfler in capital letters. I'm the John Knopfler in the J and then small letters. Because I'm not a part of the corporation's product. I said, man, get the boss, bitch. I said, don't get no freaky in there. That makes all the sense in the world. And then when that boy lived and said, and my promissory notes lets you know that I have a trust account with you guys already, where all my shit already paid for. Do you hear me? He said, I'm a sovereign nation. That means you're a free motherfucking human walking on this planet. Like the animals, D. Shit, but we better. But we allowing some motherfuckers to actually slave us around like we less than the motherfucking animals. God diggity dog. If that boy didn't let me see that there, I like I said again, I know who the creator is, but I never saw the way that they didn't fix their motherfucking laws. Their laws are meant strictly to hold us in bondage, period. Not to let go at all. Alright, next thing saying go to the see. Oh, they got my shit over there.
Pensaba llevar a mi hija al parque, pero está bien. Oh, le agradezco mucho por el trabajo.
Gotta wait till she finish first. I ain't fucking with that. Got my product in there. That's $1,050,000. So I wait till y'all finish this mission. Then I can go back to that and cancel that shit. I ain't moving into my shit. I know y'all sitting there wondering why I ain't going. Thank you.
Similarly, Larry Silverstein, new leaseholder of the World Trade Center, regretfully declared that a decision was made to pull Building 7 by the end of the day, the last structure added to the World Trade Center complex. Let's hear Mr. Silverstein's actual words, delivered to our benefit in the 2002 PBS documentary America Rebuilt.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life.
Pull the building.
The smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision.
Look. That boy told on himself, you old bastard. You couldn't remember you wasn't supposed to say that shit and you end up saying it anyway. You old bastard.
Blast, shoot, blow, and
pull
are terms used in the demolition industry
yeah, buddy.
to refer to bringing down buildings, bridges, and other structures.
Because I actually blew the house down that I was born.
Originally we had figured you shooting, but it dropped straight down.
Yes. Watch Demolition Dynamics attempt a big blast.
And from Ground Zero's own post-disaster wrecking crew.
By mid-December, the Department of Design and Construction had leveled World Trade Center buildings 4 and 5.
Now they're gonna pull.
Oh, we're getting ready to pull building 6.
Silverstein, a commercial real estate tycoon with international political connections, acquired a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center complex in the spring of 2001. Throughout the summer, he reworked the insurance policies on his new property, making sure that it was covered for acts of terrorism. Explicit in the lease agreement was Silverstein's right to rebuild the complex if it were destroyed. After 9/11, Mr. Silverstein fought his insurers in court to obtain double his policy limits for the destruction of
double.
property.
And they paid that motherfucker.
Double hijacking constituted
two? Wow. Wow.
Just one.
Wow.
He won and was awarded over $7 billion, a magnificent return on his original $15 million investment.
God damn!
To think about the families of those people, the tragedy, the magnitude of it. However,
how dirty.
Just in the last 2 seconds.
That's how dirty.
Building number 7, one of the buildings in support of the World Trade Center towers has collapsed.
World Trade 7, functioning as the command center for the complex, housed giant diesel backup and oxygen systems, the mayor's protected emergency bunker, and offices for the CIA, Secret Service, Department of Defense, and Securities and Exchange Commission. Its other tenants were insurance companies, brokerages, and banks. No plane hit Building 7, but at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th, it collapsed in a heap on the ground. Some damage to Building 7 is said to have been caused by debris from Tower 1. Though this New York Times article tells us Building 7 burned like a giant torch, the only visuals that exist are of unidentified smoke and a few small fires. Compare this to the wallops sustained by World Trade Center 3, 4, 5, and 6. Positioned right below damage to the surrounding World Trade Center buildings was worse. Still, the structures held up. But somehow, rescue workers knew that Building 7 would fall.
You're not trying and building it becomes cancer.
A 47-story skyscraper, Building 7 folded neatly in 6.5 seconds. A textbook descent right into its footprint. Silverstein Properties now tells us that its owner was referring to the team of firefighters inside the building when he spoke of a decision to pulling the firemen out of harm's way. There were no firefighters in Building 7, according to FEMA. Chief Frank Fellini. They were ordered out at 11:30 that morning. 6 hours later, the building came down.
You know, we heard this sound that sounded like a cloud of thunder. Turned around, it looked like there was a shockwave ripping through the building, and the windows all busted out. Horrifying. About a second later, the bottom floor caves out, and the building followed after that.
Radio host Alex Jones notes the mark of a classic implosion.
This is a photo taken 1 second into Building 7's collapse. Notice the crimp. If we look at other controlled demolitions, we see that they first
Crimp,
blow
yep.
one of the central
Yep.
columns so the building falls in on itself. If you don't do this, the building falls outward and can damage surrounding structures. Building 7 had a classic crimp or wedge. Its central column was blown out first, so it didn't structurally damage buildings just a few feet away from it.
Remember the mayor's emergency bunker? Ensconced on the 23rd floor of Building 7, it was retrofitted with superglass, water, oxygen, and its own generator. But Mayor Giuliani chose
all
to
my
find
delivery,
emergency
took all my
shelter
shit.
elsewhere on September 11th. Why Building 7? Even the media and its experts were confused. The History Channel interviews structural engineer Ramon Gilsons, who points out the obvious crimp and even speaks of the implosion.
Engineers are not just focusing on the Twin Towers. The most disturbing structural event was not that the Twin Towers fell, but that Tower 7, ignited by flying debris, fell due to fire alone.
Building 7 was a steel frame building, and it's the first steel frame building that has collapsed due to fire. The failure of the building was an implosion.
Rob me on all my
completely
shit.
different than Towers 1 and 2, in which the floors failed first.
I'm gonna go back and get somebody to read that shit that they just put up there before all my shit disappeared.
As the WTC command center, was it the hub for the 9/11 plan?
Yo, D, you can come close the door, baby.
Also, in 6.5 seconds, lost forever were thousands of SEC case files on corporate fraud.
I know you wasn't, but I know you
those
need
relating to the
a little privacy in there.
activities of giants WorldCom and Enron. A few indictments for stock fraud.
Yeah, I know you don't want to hear what I'm listening
What
to.
of the $70 billion California electricity swindle?
I said, I know you don't want to listen to what I'm listening to too.
Oh, I was listening.
Oh, you listening to? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was on the phone.
I was looking for something.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to see what I can watch because not everything would allow me to watch on YouTube. So,
Say it again?
I'm on the YouTube, so I'm trying to find free movies to watch, but not all of them.
Why? What look up? They don't want to work? Cause Dave was saying something about it wasn't working too. Not only they just fuck me on that what you just saw, they just took $1,050,000 and emptied this out. Look, zero. But look what it say.
Now,
look at the supplies.
Think about this building.
What the supplies say? 4.
Missing is core.
So how
that's your smoking gun. You don't need nothing else. Nobody's going to be able to argue with this.
It's like, how can I have supplies being full and me having zero? Supply would let it not go to zero because it's full.
They're not going to be able to get away with saying, oh, it's just crushed or it's got into the basement, because it's not in the basement and it never got crushed. Everybody knows this. It's missing. Everybody ignored it. And it's not going to be ignored no more. This is something that you have to push out there. You have to do that. It's the encumbrance. If you truly want to put an end to this, you have to push this out, and you can. You have that power.
So some supplies get handed to you on a plate, others in private military convoy. That's life. Go to the GPS point, get a hold of them. Somehow, and bring them to the bunker.
Fuck these bitches, they lying bullshit. I'm like I said, much as I got love for all y'all, I dislike a lot of shit that y'all do, but I don't hate y'all never, because I know the truth. It's all about the love and the hate being too heavy for the loving part that's in your heart. I can't have it. I'm sorry. I'm smart. I'm going with the smart part being my heart, because my heart do what it's supposed to do. It pumps the blood throughout my body. It never sucks.
Smashed all this in? What smashed all this in? If it got smashed in, nothing. Say, or you would see it here right now. The basement's intact. The walls are intact.
A pool of molten steel that was found in the bottom of the towers.
I am too.
And
just tell me about it. Have you seen it?
Well, not personally, but eyewitnesses there found poles of molten steel in the towers.
Merriweather, for all your private security needs. How can I help?
Hey, do that other dude have a mic? 56. You have a mic? Guess not. But let him know I'm here to help y'all finish all these, all of them. I'm just here to help.
Thermate residue, which would explain how the buildings collapsed by means of pre-planted explosions. So, have you analyzed...
A helicopter has been dispatched.
...steel for those residues?
First of all, your basic premise there was a pool of molten steel. I know of absolutely nobody, and no eyewitness who says so.
You get down below and you see molten steel. Molten steel running down the cannon walls. Like you're in a foundry. Wow.
The fires got very intense down there and actually melted beams where it was molten steel that was being dug out.
I'm landing. Stay clear of the blades.
Of steel, molten steel, and concrete, and all of these things by the heat into one single element. And almost like a chunk of lava from Kilauea or Iceland, where they're very sharp, breakable shards on the end here. This 8-ton steel I-beam, 6 inches thick.
Where are we going?
To be preserved for future generations with a near perfect horseshoe-like bed formed during the collapse.
See what you're working with, boy.
Steel, some of this thickest steel I've ever seen bent like a pretzel. And you just couldn't imagine the force that took. The grafters were pulling stuff out, big sections of iron that were literally on fire on the other end. They would hit the air and burst into flames, which was pretty spooky to see.
Reaching the point where you would create an air pocket by moving steel, fueling the fires on the ground, so it might cause it to blow up. But, you know, these underground fires, fires are hell.
This is how it's been since day one. Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is 6 weeks later, almost 6 weeks later. And as we get closer,
6 weeks.
it gets hotter and hotter.
6 weeks.
It's probably 1,500 degrees.
But they said it didn't have no molten lava at the bottom. Do you hear all the lies to go along with our justice systems not being justice to us being the people that they supposed to be working for?
See that stuff he's pulling out? I bet you. We're gonna hold off on the water. See the stuff he's pulling out? Yeah. Red hot. If we hit it too much steam, you won't be able to see what it's doing. Great.
You see how this debris is still smoking? That's when the fire's going to start burning. 8 weeks later, we still got fires burning. Every now and then, one of the pieces of equipment will dig in, will open up a small area, the oxygen will rush in, and you'll get this plume of brown, black smoke coming up. That's because that fire just got more oxygen. So, I mean, these things are burning. At one point, I think they were about 2,800 degrees.
The helicopter.
It was still so hot that molten metal dripped down the sides of the
We have arrived.
There were fires. 2,000.
Was it something I said?
And all of a sudden, he comes out of this little tunnel screaming, "Wait till you see what I found." And he pulls in ministers and officials, and there, this cross is fully extended, melted together with the intense heat. The two beams were never initially part of the same structure. Heat literally melted them together. And the piece of metal that's draped over was molten metal that had literally fallen over one of the arms.
Steel-toed boots is one of the biggest things.
Steel-toed boots?
Steel-toed boots. Out, still on the rubble, it's still, I believe, 1,100 degrees. The guy's boots just melt within a few hours.
It was literally steaming. Your boots would melt in certain areas. That's how hot it was. The steel was coming out red in certain areas from the first couple of weeks at least.
Go back to your basic premise that there was a pool of molten steel. I know of absolutely nobody, and no eyewitness who said so, who produced it. I was on the site.
Hello, you're through to Merriweather Security Consulting. What can I do for you? A helicopter will be with you shortly.
I think it's probably difficult to get that kind of temperatures in fire. I don't know the basis. I can't address your question if I don't know the basis.
Well,
The cavalry has arrived.
Thermal imaging showed those
You in position? Meriwether are inbound. Stop the convoy, get the supplies, drop them at the bunker. Out.
Dr. Gross, and he asked me to email to him those thermal images. When I approached him after his talk to get his email address for that purpose, he refused to provide it to me. I think this is important because it reveals the attitude of the NIST investigators, which is one of willful ignorance of what really happened on 9/11.
The United States knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. There were not weapons of mass destruction.
You said you knew where they were.
I did not. We know where they are. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east, west, south, and north. Some
Joining me now here in the BBC World Studio is the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who's in London at the moment. Mr. Barak, welcome to BBC World. First, your reaction, having heard what's happened. At least 4 planes have been hijacked, and there may be more.
The world will not be the same from today on. I don't know who is responsible. I believe we will know in 12 hours. Bin Laden sits in Afghanistan. There is a sort of terror.
Because we're not saying he's responsible for this necessarily.
No, we don't say that he's responsible. Every simple step, crossing borders or going on a plane or on a ship, will become more complicated. It's a time to launch a operational, concrete war against the terror, even if it takes certain pains from the routine activities of our normal society. This is the time to deploy a globally concerted effort led by the United States, the UK, Europe, and Russia against all sources of terror, consistently along 6 or 10 years in Iran, Iraq, Libya, North Korea.
Verified debris, of course, from a Boeing 757, which has about 3 million parts. These are the cleanest crash sites in history.
Little pieces of metal. There wasn't anything there but little pieces of metal. I unfortunately did not see bodies.
You know, I get up there and I look around, John, and it was like, I mean, it's like, where's the plane?
Any large pieces of debris at all? No, there was nothing that you could distinguish that a plane had crashed there.
How much of the plane actually impacted the building?
You know, it might have appeared that way, but from my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual site of the building that's crashed in, and as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand.
Is there anything left of the aircraft at all?
First of all, the question about the aircraft, there are some small pieces of aircraft visible from the interior during this firefighting operation that I'm talking about, but not large sections. In other words, there's no fuselage sections and that sort of thing.
They said it was a plane, and I didn't see any pieces of any plane, and I couldn't believe that a plane hit the building.
Right up in here, this is somebody who believes, let me read that text for you. Supposedly over there, that is the left wing impact damage extending beyond the impact fault. See, it's nice parallel black mark here. That's the wing. It's just very neat now, isn't it? Where are the plow marks from the engines hanging down? And then, down here, it says probable aircraft debris. There's various junk there, yeah. Now, the physics of this are impossible. I'm going to convince most of you, I hope, by the end of this presentation, if I ever get through with it. Okay, let's go with it to the Pentagon. Most of us, I think, agree that either no plane or certainly no Boeing flew into the Pentagon. Well, first of all, the hole's too small to disappear a plane. The hole in the Pentagon, disturbingly, is not plane-shaped. Yet we were just taught a few minutes earlier that crashing aircraft create plane-shaped holes in the towers. The Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote type crash image that I've got shown you there. Gee, let's get some consistency in your phone crashes, okay?
Yeah, boy.
A 45-degree angle crash, as alleged, the starboard or right wing and engine would hit the wrecking ball first. It's called Pentagon. That would spin the plane clockwise.
Yep.
Right to the left. Right to the left. And would fling that tail section off. And yet this 45-degree line allegedly was sustained through 3 rings. Simply marvelous. Okay, well, let's go to Shanksville, Pennsylvania. No plane crashed at Shanksville at the designated site. Now, the hole is a wee bit small, isn't it? 20 feet by 10 feet by maybe 6 feet deep. The witnesses reported low-flying, struggling a jetliner versus a vertical crash imprint, as if the plane would remain intact during a wipeout crash. No grass.
All right, then. That'll keep him busy on the floor.
Thousands of gallons of jet fuel that would have aboard. There's no plane debris, bodies, blood. We're missing all kinds of evidence. There's no verified debris, of course, from a Boeing 757, which has about 3 million parts. These are the 4 cleanest crash sites in aviation history. That's the #1 issue. Where's the wreckage? No cockpit voice recorder or flight data recorder are available to the public. That's at all 4 events. The shoot-down stories, I believe, are a distraction. There's no evidence for them, so therefore I consider it a nullity, an arbitrary claim, unless you give me some evidence. Okay, so Flight 93, where is your plane debris? There you got an aerial shot of the wing imprint story, but no wings. You've got people wandering around in this hole, and there's no plane debris. There's a little closer up of that same photo. No witnesses to the alleged crash.
They've talked to a number of individuals here. They say they have talked to people who saw this plane during the final moments. They haven't confirmed whether they talked to anybody who saw this plane actually land or crash, rather. And as to whether it broke up on the way, we don't know that. FBI is being very tight-lipped about that. But again, it leads to that possibility.
FBI, a bunch of liars.
FBI destroyed evidence.
Yep.
They filled up the hole right away. And
they need to be put in jail. All these people, man. We as the
people
people got the power to lay up there and get rid of these fucking people, man, before they kill us off.
Saved us a lot of money because they did. There's no comprehensive crash investigation as required. Witnesses reported. I kind of treat the witnesses a little more seriously than in Manhattan, because everybody's going to know everybody more or less in rural Pennsylvania. It's harder to plant actors out there, etc. No plane crashed at Shanksville at the designated. There's no verified debris, of course, from a Boeing 757, which has about 3 million parts. These are the 4 cleanest crash sites in aviation history.
There was no wreckage from any airplane in the World Trade Center. And by no wreckage, I mean, nothing was found of any size anywhere around. Now, there was a panel of the fuselage that you see with 5 window shades, but when each airplane, American Airlines for North Tower and United Airlines for South Tower, hit 2/5 of a second while they disappeared into the airplane. So in 2/5 of a second, you're not going to have a panel about 7 feet long drift down
you know, and just be lying there in almost perfect condition.
Perfect condition.
Unless it was accompanied by Mohammed Atta's passport.
No.
The only other thing that was found was the engine on Murray Street, and the engine on Murray Street has been identified as either a CFM56. CFM stands for Senecma, or the CF6, which was a 767 engine, which was developed out of the CFM 56. But whichever one it was, the CF6 or the CFM 56, it had to be General Electric. And unfortunately, or fortunately, United Airlines used strictly Pratt & Whitney.
This research seems to indicate that this component, called a high-pressure turbine cooling duct, is from a Pratt & Whitney JT9D7 series engine as used on the Boeing 747, whereas this is the HPT cooling duct for the JT9D-7R4D series of engines, which are used by United Airlines on all of their Boeing 767s. But the engine found in Murray Street had this kind of cooling duct, so could not have come from a United Airlines Boeing 767.
So that engine that you see flying off, and that engine they say is from 175, isn't from 175, because the guy's whose job was to dump it off there, and on a smoking, smoldering thing, dumped off the wrong engine. There was a lot of things that the Perch did that were suspect here.
Now, Hoax Central, I claim, is the plane fraud. I was flying up to Seattle back in October on a 767 Boeing, and I was over the wing, so as we came into Seattle, I was watching this ballet of panels and flaps and actuators, moving things. It's quite an amazing engineering display. And I noticed all over that wing was the marking, "No step." Don't step here, 200-pound man. And I said, gee, I'm going to remember that. Over design factor is Dr. Judy Woodward, approximately 1.
The wingtip isn't even strong enough to hold fuel in it. The fuel is held further closer to the body. What got to me was that upper wingtip slot. There was a 5-inch deep slot cut into the building. This can hold the lights on the end, but you can't slice a steel column.
Right. So the end sections of the wings would not penetrate section steel girders.
As a matter of fact, if you've been on the plane, you look out the window and read on the wing. It says no step here, because the wing is delicate in places.
In this clip, the plane lands too heavily, illustrating just how light and fragile the plane structure is.
Okay, now here's a real plane crash, 1994 B-52 heavy bomber. You just see that right wing? It's gonna get chewed. Yeah, you can hit some steel cable, we'll see later, or a telephone pole or tree. Watch this thing again. There are about a dozen or so real crash pictures on the internet, and this is one of them. Look at that thing fall apart. You know, these aluminum planes are not built to crash in a lot of material. Now we have bird strikes. Birds impacting airplanes. I like that one. It looks so cool. It's almost like a put-up job. But now here's parking lot accidents, right? Intersecting tail sections and horizontal stabilizers. They can't be going too fast, I figure. Here's a Continental Airlines airplane at Newark. It had a 5-mile-hour little accident with the terminal there. Yeah. One of these little baggage handler. These little baggage handler things are steel, though. Rock you. Here's a 737 having a rough time landing, losing a wingtip. Whoop! I scraped the concrete. Here's a plane that slid off the runway in Burbank, California. That was the year 2000. Everybody wants to look at the gas prices. I love these parking lots. Here's a 747. Whoops! I didn't clear the drainage ditch. Whoops! You know, this plane is near being totaled. Well, I wouldn't total it, but it's going to cost you a lot of bucks to repair this little 5-mile-an-hour get-off. An aluminum airliner cannot, quote, disappear, unquote, into a heavy steel concrete tower. Well, they showed us that on TV. In reality, it can't be done.
I'm what you call a no-planer. There were no planes on 9/11. But people have a hard time believing that, and I don't know why.
They all saw it on TV. It must be real.
And not only that, they heard it.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And I saw it on TV. And leaves the problem. People think they see it on TV, it must be real.
They all saw it on TV. It must be real.
And not only that, they heard it.
Where is all this stuff with this deafening noise? You have hardly any witnesses who report, despite being on the ground of the WTC or nearby, hearing this deafening rock concert front row sound or higher. It's remarkable how many are right there and didn't hear a thing.
I'd have heard that.
I saw the second plane crash into the tower. It had pushed from the south somewhere. It looked like about the 50th or 40th story. Large plane, black. I didn't see any markings on it. I didn't hear any engines. It really sounded like the thing just glided in. It hit the tower, big bang, ball of flame.
Yes, I saw the second plane crash right into the second tower.
And this was just about 15 minutes ago or so.
Yeah, I was looking at the first explosion from the top of my roof of where I live, and it was almost like I saw a replay of what had just happened on the first tower. The plane looked like a 737. It looked much bigger than the other one, and it just went right into the second tower and completely disappeared. I can see right now there's no debris, no plane debris at all. It all was swallowed up by the tower. It's just amazing.
Did it just look normal?
Well, what is that normal?
Like, I don't know, was there anything strange about it or anything?
You main lab? All right. When I get the all clear, we'll give you the codes.
Yeah, there was no, like,
Can I get
engine
silent?
roaring?
We need to
No.
When people come to
That
me
bang.
about eyewitnesses,
That was you, right?
which eyewitness? Name
Or someone
one.
associated with you?
Thousands. And here we,
What you're getting into
a
right
small
now is
group
a
of
really
us,
different ballgame, my friends.
Andrew Johnson being the most important,
You got the go-ahead?
in England, have gone through the FDNY and EMT accounts. And we're down, by the time we get down to I saw a plane, heard it, and it crashed into the South Tower, you got one person.
I was in B Tower, A Tower, B1, first one. What happened? Tell me about it. It was a big explosion.
Bear's coming at us. Damn it. Do not surrender. Take them out. We are burned if you are caught.
Explosion, and then what did you do? Explosion, and we didn't know if it was a earthquake or whatever, and they came out to basically tell us the only motors were coming. So they went back upstairs to tell us it was okay. And then we saw this, I didn't see the second plane, but saw it explode and hit the other
You need to clean up these agents. They're chasing a payoff, and they will keep coming.
bombed another building, not second plane. That was a bomb. We said a second plane. That's what we're told. I was trying to get down, so I saw a plane, I heard it, and crashed into the South Tower. We got one person. Okay, issue. Newton's laws of motion. I've got them as stated by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687.
I think that they use it for deep elevation thing where, you know,
Looks like you're clear, but we've heard that before. Drop the codes at HQ and look out for tails.
When something like that impacts the outer wall of one of the towers, which is basically an array of columns, so almost a rectangular framework, and these are steel columns, which are quite substantial and a lot denser than the aluminum.
Very familiar with the fragility of these airframes. All they are flying aluminum beer cans. If they'd been long enough to be safe, they wouldn't be able to get off the ground.
Yeah, the whole fuselage is very thin, and like you compare it like to a beer can.
The fact that the bug splatters only means that with its smaller mass and strength, it is less able to withstand the force resulting from the interaction.
If a force acts on this body, the speed has to change.
Newton's third law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, which of course means we can treat the plane as stationary and the building is hitting it as 560 miles an hour, or the building stationary and the plane impacting at 560 miles an hour, and you're going to have a similar effect.
For every action, there is an equal in size and opposite in direction reaction. So here's a classroom example to get us get our minds around Newton's third law. An unfortunate bug strikes the windshield of a bus moving down the road. Quite obviously, this is a case of, well, interaction between two objects. And therefore, Newton's third law of motion, if true, applies. The bug hit the windshield hit the bug. Which of the two forces is greater, the force on the bug or the force on the bus windshield? Volunteers? Cow, you can't. Well, my wife said the force is bigger.
Yep.
Equal. Each force is the same size. The fact that the bug splattered up. The fact that the bug splatters only means that
it hit.
With its smaller
it
mass
hit.
and
Yep,
strength,
it hit.
It is less able to withstand the force resulting from the interaction.
Yep, but it will
So
hit.
now, a speeding plane strikes the wall of a motionless tower. Obviously, this contact between objects is the case of Newton's third law of motion. An aluminum plane hits the steel building, and the building hits the plane. Which of the two forces is greater, the force on the plane or the building? Equal. Each force is there's an equal and opposite reaction. It matters not which object is moving. The fact is, it's just going to be a collision in reality. Now, the fact that the beams and belts and everything breaks apart in the building, huh? You got to be kidding me. Welcome to Islamic Huffman Jones O'Reilly 9/11 physics.
What is unphysical about that is basically the fact that airplanes, with the exception of their engines, are mostly made out of aluminum, which is a soft metal, aluminum alloys, which are strong, but still basically a light, soft metal. The only really dense part of the plane are the engines, which of course are these great big lumps of titanium and steel.
Well, that's the thing. Like, in reality, it should have, like, hit the building, crushed up in front.
Oh, yeah.
The tail should have, like, fell down to the ground or something.
Well, it should have, if it didn't hit it exactly right, one wing would hit before the other one would. And it would cause the plane to rotate in the opposite direction of where the first part of it hit the building. And then as, the plane went, you'd get all these vibrations. The plane would be shaking. I mean, it would be a catastrophe. You'd have pieces flying all over the place.
Thermite is so hot, this molten iron, especially when you mix sulfur in. Now it's called carbonate. So sulfur added to this molten iron, and it'll just cut through steel, through structural steel, for example, like a knife through butter. And we also see this molten, yellow hot molten metal with white wispy ash pouring out of the South Tower just minutes before it's collapsed. I've shown this video, and it's just amazing. Photographs of that. It's in the NIST report. They say, well, probably molten aluminum from the aircraft. It's not. We did experiments at BYU. See, that was in the New York Times as the sulfidation of the steel came out. You know, World Trade Center 7, there's no airplane that hit it. And so how do you explain it? And then the towers too. And the New York Times said this is the greatest mystery uncovered so far. The molten metal pools indicate, in this case, a large amount of incendiary explosive material. Super thermite is explosive. Ordinary thermite and thermate are incendiaries. It's true that when you add sulfur to the thermite, it now cuts very quickly through steel. And again, you remember earlier I spoke of the paper I read. These metallurgists in Massachusetts had looked at World Trade Center 7 steel and some from the tower. Said that it's high temperature, like sulfur come, where do these high temperatures come from? Well, the answer is strange, they said, that at high temperature sulfidation, where does sulfur come? Where do these high temperatures come from? Well, the answer, you see, we're getting at totally consistent with this thermate.
Thermite.
1 hour 6 minutes and 19 seconds of 2 hours 32 minutes and 11 seconds. Pause video.
Get what they saying now, D. Get what they saying now. And I can believe this too. Nobody really saying that they saw that first airplane hit. It just got pictures of it.
How sad is that?
That's messed up there, boy. Because it doesn't you know that the ones that did get a picture of this here was waiting to get the shot of the Boy, that's fucked up. That ain't real. Because now you can't do nothing but see the truth in the shit. You couldn't see it then because you were too what? You were too busy being angry at somebody. Because I know you ain't know what they had did to the Muslim people. Huh? You ain't know, huh? They had put them bitches in concentration camps. That's September 11th. They just not. That's just not coming out too. I'm like, oh man, shit. But they demanding to find out where the homeless people here in Houston at. Yeah, people demanding to find out where the homeless people that was here in Houston at. Mm-hmm. I watching on YouTube on Houston Chronicles, some shit with Houston. There's so much going on behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes, but really right in your face. In your face. In your face. And your boy, like I said again, I don't like him. I don't like none of them. But old Donald Trump, he supposed to be closing the case on September 11th. I'm gonna hear what he talking about in a minute. Like this, there's nothing better than y'all, and y'all shouldn't be going through the shit that y'all go through. On the real, I'm just being honest as a motherfucking man that done lived and did a lot of things good, but really bad when you really think about it. I never had the inkling of being with none of the women that I was with for none of them. None of them. It was only a for now at that moment. And then I feel like I messed up a lot of good women. I did. But I put that vibration in the air. I apologize because I did not know who you was. But now that I know who you are, I put you where you belong on the top. You just gotta know you belong there. That's all. This bullshit here, boy. I'm like, what music to put with this? But the words and stuff that's coming up there and stuff that I can't read, I know that got a lot of significance to deal with the bullshit that this was. But I know why, D. Look. It did cut off on its own, D. But I know why they put it on it. Because it's not something to get you upset about. It's something for you to think about. And they cut my shit clean off. The fuck this is? Going on with the bullshit. Going on with the bullshit. Y'all saw where this game yanked me out of $1,050,000.
I can't believe it took over 12 years to see.
Hey.
Let me show you a still of this video. I a building that's clearly behind the South World Trade Center tower. Yet when we pay close attention to the video, Flight 175's wing should appear in front of the building, not behind it.
Oh.
This is a layering CGI.
Oh, they did us some TV magic.
Which was seen all over the world, over and over and over again, year after year, is a CGI render. Thus, it's not a video. It's a fake. And this is one of many, many fake videos put out by the news media.
Focus. And I wanted to mention something else to you that you'll notice in this video, all through it, is that another thing they did to knock this video up. They're tampering with the video. If you look at it now, if you go on the internet and watch this video, you'll see it there. But it's hard to tell right now. I can see on my middle monitor on my camera here that you can't really tell. But this whole area, the whole picture, the whole video, the building, everything is slightly out of focus, and that's done on purpose because they wanted to hide the fact that they altered these images. This is not real. There's no fin here. The wing's missing here. And we still got these long lines, and that's the lines of a cruise missile. And I'm not kidding you. If you look at a cruise missile, they have the lines going right across them like that. So we'll go on to the next page, because the picture, there's like 30 pictures I want to show you, then we'll go to the video. So now, here, the pin right here should be visible right through this. It's barely noticeable right there. The tail one is missing. The nose of the airplane is still missing. Now, take a look at this wing here. It disappeared. It's not. It's supposed to be on top of this building, and it's not there. There's no wing. So I'm going to go back, and you have a look at this wing again. Okay, go back. I'm going to go back. There's the wing right there. And you go to the next side. And remember that in digital video cameras, okay, they don't have frames. So I captured these frames manually by playing the video and doing a still of each thing, and I captured them. It took a lot of time to do this. But here you see the wing, and here the wing disappears. How could the wing be behind that building? Again, it shows you that the video was captured with it's not real. And again, still the front of the airplane is still missing right here. And we got problems right here where the tail end, the fin's not showing properly. And it gets worse. I'm going to keep showing you more. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, just so if I go zoom in too much, I lose the focus. But there you go. There's no wing where the building is. And now there's the wing that comes back. And right here, the wing goes missing in the smoke. And again, that's not supposed to happen. And look at here. This one's almost gone, and in the rudder one, whatever you call it, on top of the airplane, in the back is missing. It's not there at all. And again, the front of the airplane is still not looking normal. I will move on to the next picture. And the wing is still not clear like it should be. It's not going through smoke, so there's no reason why it shouldn't be clear. The front of the thing is not showing very clear here. And what I'm showing you here is the quality of the tampering with this video was really, really shoddy. But when it's played at full speed and you've got more commentators and saying things to you, and people are saying, they're all really shocked, oh, an airplane crashed in 9/11, what happens? People don't even notice the little things. They just see the big picture of, oh my God, there's smoke everywhere, fire, and the people are caught up in the
hype,
of the whole
the
event.
drama.
They don't see these technical things. Other people have talked about a pot underneath here, and really there's no pot at all.
This one's more like quid pro quo. You take out some bad actors for me, I've got an easy resupply for you. It's a good deal all around.
I'm actually looking at the airplane. Instead they were told, oh, look at the pod, or look at the flash reports right here. It strikes the building, and they do that so you don't look at the airplane. And I want you to look at the airplane. You're seeing a gray airplane, okay? You're seeing that the video is something's wrong with this video. Part of the wing's missing here, the back end's missing. And I'm going to move on to the next one. Now keep your eye on this wing right here, and keep your eye on this line of the building. And watch what happens to the airplane as it goes through this line. So now, what do we have? We have the wing missing. It's going through this building, and the wing's not there. And this one is barely visible again. Okay, the engine here is disappearing, and it's not supposed to. And the cone of the airplane is still not showing right, but I'm going to keep going. Keep watching this line here. You're going to see how these videos are not real. See, look, the wing disappeared. It goes right behind the building. That's not possible. It disappears. It's not there. There's no wing. And this one's not showing again on the back. We'll go on. This engine completely almost disappeared now. You see, okay, it's not flying through smoke, guys. This airplane is on this side, and on a sunny day, bright, sunny, really, really bright outside. And you can't really tell, but they've taken the whole picture and put it out of focus so that people wouldn't notice this. So now, all of a sudden, the airplane, the wing's visible again. It just pops right back into the picture. So doesn't that make you wonder what the heck is going on? Why would the wing not be there 1 second and all of a sudden now we have no engine over here? That engine's gone. And that engine's very noticeable. A minute ago was really big. And that one's just barely showing still, but this one's back. Hey, it just appeared out of nowhere. And we'll move on to the next frame. Keep watching that line there at the building. Look at that. The back one goes missing. And look at the engines. They're like bigger all of a sudden. They're visible again. But that one disappears, and this one's still not showing very clear. So should I keep going? Let me keep going here. I'm going to show you how crappy this video capturing has been. But, the shock of it all, folks, is that
the media is part of it.
We're all learning thanks to Occupy and a lot of other people. Everyone's realizing we're all being lied to by corporate look around this video, nothing else is disappearing. And there is another video that was done at an angle of the airplane crashing into the side of the building here. And you'll notice in the other video, and every other video you'll notice now that you know what to look for, you'll notice that all the videos are like this. They're all different. They all have serious problems with So, in this way, disappearing on this. Look at that one, it's not disappearing, that one's disappeared. Keep going. And it's the same thing. Keep watching the wings here, they're disappearing, right? That wing can be nice and clear, and so is that one. Because the rest of the building, everything else is clear. Here we go now. We're going to go on to the next one. Keep watching. The wing, okay, obviously you're seeing smoke here along the wing, but if you look at the wing, it hasn't even, it's not even bent. It's like there's no movement of that wing whatsoever. So why is there smoke already coming out when the wing hasn't even touched the building yet? And this one has disappeared, and there's no smoke coming from this part. Supposedly this is already in the building, but there's no smoke here, but there's smoke up here on the wing. That doesn't make sense. So you see a bunch of smoke up here, the wing's still not moving, nothing's happened to the wing yet, and this airplane's already missing the front end of it. That wing already disappeared, doesn't even exist. And this part doesn't exist. So the wing still hasn't moved. Look at that. The engines are going in, but the wing. But remember, there's a smoke coming up here. And there's nothing here. Like the smoke wasn't coming from this part. Where did that smoke come from? You all think? So look at that. The airplane literally is disappearing into the building. I mean, how come these wings? Like when those engines hit. Those wings should have, that wing right there should be bent by now, okay? Because that engine is ahead of the wing. When that hits a steel structured building, that engine would have been bent, pushed backwards. It just couldn't cut through the steel like that without the wing changing shape or the wing moving. And we still don't have a back end of the airplane here. And look at that, already that much of the airplane is disappeared. There's no smoke, there's no debris, there's no nothing coming out of the building. And yet the airplane is just disappearing. Let's keep looking. Look at that. That wing is still there. Then now they put some little puffs of smoke there to hide the engine, but because I don't try to worry about explaining that, but I can't explain this part. Super thin aluminum wing. Have you ever seen if you ever been to a place where they dispose of old airplanes, they use a piece of steel, they drop it on the wing, and the wings just snap off like nothing. You know, the wings are so easily cut, it's unbelievable. It just takes a bit of weight and then they snap right off. To get that wing right to the tip, stay right there. And, that's not possible. And yet, we still can't explain why the back of the airplane is not going here. And it's not looking here. Look at that. The smoke happening. But yet the airplane is going right here. I'm going to go back one picture to show you. Okay, so watch the airplane goes in. Look at the smoke, where it's at. It's not moving. And look, the smoke never moved, but the airplane's still going in. Look at that, the airplane's still going in, the smoke. Wings are behind. If you look right here, you can still see all the aluminum of the building. Nothing's been moved. You would think all these strips of aluminum by now would have been flying all over the place and breaking off. That wasn't back to. And back to this picture here. And I can see them. So you're looking right to the center of the building. There's no wings. There's no wings in this building. So now I'm going to take this off my screen, and I'm going to take this video that a lot of people have seen.
The United States knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. There are weapons of mass destruction. You said you knew where they were. I did not know where they were. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east of the United States knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Any country on the face of the earth with an active intelligence program knows that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. But there were not weapons of mass destruction.
Do you hear that bullshit?
You said you knew where they were.
No.
I did not. We know where they are. They're in the area around Tikrit and Baghdad and east, west, south, and north, somewhat. Let me just ask you this.
If they did not have these weapons of mass destruction, granted, all of that is true, why then do they pose a threat to us? Well, you and a few other critics are the only people I've heard use the phrase nuclear.
Wow.
Saddam Hussein aids and protects terrorists, including members of Al-Qaeda. Secretly, without fingerprints, he could provide one of his hidden weapons to terrorists or help them develop their own. Before September the 11th, many in the world believed that Saddam Hussein could be contained. We've learned that Iraq has trained Al-Qaeda members in bomb making, and poisons, and deadly gases. He's a threat because he is dealing with Al-Qaeda. We know that Iraq and Al-Qaeda have had high-level contacts.
It concludes that Iraq has chemical and biological weapons, that Saddam has continued to produce them, that he has existing and active military plans for the use of chemical and biological weapons, which could be activated within 45 minutes, including against his own Shia population.
Babies in the incubators, that was a lie.
Steve, for about 10 minutes or so, did they ask you any questions, or what happened for you to be standing here with me now?
They looked at my backpack, they frisked me a couple times. I don't have my ID, so I couldn't, my ticket or anything. I just told them, I guess they saw that I didn't have any weapons or didn't have any evidence. So was Nick, I guess they just going into the side of the Twin Towers, exploding through the other side. And then I would have felt I was collapsed. One first, and then a second. Mostly due to structural failure because the fire was too intense. Mostly due to structural failure because the fire was too intense. Obviously, there were a lot of people inside the buildings at the time. Three steps out, the first 3 seconds.
It's a shame how we being lied to people. These some low down dirty people. And all of them got everything to do with entertainment.
One of the scenarios in Operation Northwoods.
That's why YouTube don't let some shit go across that they don't want to go across. Because they know it's going to go viral.
Plane, paint the tail numbers up to resemble that of the commercial airliner, fly it by remote control out over the Caribbean, and by remote control blow it up after sending a tape recorded message saying, "Help, we're being attacked by Cuban nukes." This was in 1962.
Good work. That's what these labs run on.
second attack was the silver underside of the plane before it went into the building.
Now that was stupid. I was gonna help y'all finish the mission no matter what. And y'all was on broadcast. Y'all getting double. Guess it be like that sometimes.
I'd say it was like a two-engine plane or something. But it didn't look like an airliner to me because it was flat. This one did it on the first one.
And the plane wasn't no airline or anything. It was a twin-engine, big gray plane.
When you saw the second one happen, what did it look like?
And it was a smaller, much smaller plane, but someone said it looked like a military plane, but I'm not sure. I don't know much about airplanes.
Mark, were you close enough to be able to see any markings on the airplane?
It definitely did not look like a commercial plane. I didn't see any windows on the side.
No, it was a black plane. It looked like a fighter jet.
It looked like a fighter jet.
And it didn't look like a commercial jet.
It was a military plane.
Could be a drone aircraft. That's an aircraft that's guided electronically to its target without having a pilot.
The plane circle around and actually come on to the opposite side of the building and smash into the Trade Center.
I'll be the one to finish this mission.
Watch the first explosion. As we're watching the buildings, I saw a black, very large airplane fly right into the second building. Came out of the south.
There's enough people on this mission.
It was so surreal, like a movie set.
More money we make. We get at least 30,000 off this.
Individuals who have a license to kill. It's like Murder Incorporated.
Oh, are you kidding? The CIA makes the mafia look like a Sunday school class. I mean, this is the problem with what's actually happening in Afghanistan. Look, the CIA has done in this country, what they've done to us is unbelievable. Look at the terrorist acts that have occurred. The CIA behind most, if not all of them. We had the Marine Barracks. We had our embassy in Kenya. We had Pan Am 103. We had the USS Cole. We had Oklahoma City. We had the World Trade Center in 1993. Our government was involved in some of those. I can't say all of them because I don't know, but I do have documentation that there was government implication in some of these. We'll discuss them as we go.
Well, Ted, the people out there, I mean, did you know that the World Trade Center went up when it was bombed internally? That it all was put together by an organization called the FBI.
This is 1990.
83.
Yeah. Yes, I have I'll show this on camera, a newspaper article from the New York Times, and there was also an article in the LA Times, by the way, and it's dated October 28, 1993, and it's a result of testimony in the trial, and the informant, the informant in the trial, a fellow named Salam, a 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer.
Salam.
Right, he was the informant for the FBI, and he recorded his conversations secretly with Israel. So when it came time for trial, he said, hey, wait a minute, here's what really happened. Now, he told the FBI in advance that they were going to bomb it. He was assigned, given the assignment to put the bomb together, and he went to his supervisor, his FBI supervisor, and said, we're going to put a dummy bomb in here, right? And the FBI supervisor said, no, we're going to put a real bomb.
Well, wait a minute. Let's name names. John Antisek.
Was supervisor.
Yeah, he was the supervisor for the FBI, and he winds up in having something to do with the Kenya investigation. So here's a guy who's involved in setting up the World Trade Center for to be blown up, and it resulted in the deaths of six individuals, over 1,000 injured. Nearly $100 million.
$500 million. No.
A lot of millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars, yeah.
And
in debt property damage.
Right. Now, if justice were done, the FBI agent would be not only in jail but executed for murder in the first degree.
And for treason.
The chief suspect in the attack upon the World Trade Center on September 11th is not the chief suspect the individuals or individual agency that bombed the World Trade Center in 1993.
On what happened in 1993, the FBI not only knew in advance they were going to bomb the World Trade Center,
a lot of money.
Ingredients for the bomb. Based on that,
You got two of them. So
I
you
would say
spent a lot of money on
FBI
some
is
cars.
the primary suspect, but also I think we have to consider the
Ground
CIA.
floor.
And the reason you have to consider the CIA is because when you skyjack 4 airplanes simultaneously with 19 skyjackers, that is no small operation. That took years of training, number one, and hundreds of people had to know about it in advance. Now, our government, NSA, was monitoring bin Laden's phone calls in February 1998. Are you going to tell me for 1 minute that we didn't know about this in advance? The CIA had to know about it. The FBI had to know about it. The Mossad had to know about it.
Now,
MI5, British intelligence had to know about it.
The CIA knows about it. The FBI knows about it. The commander-in-chief, the president, would have to know about it.
Of course he was.
And that would mean that Bush had prior knowledge, and that would implicate him in reality, if we wanted to face this thing as it really was, in murder in the first degree.
Let me explain to the audience what's happened here. Okay, back in the 80s, 1980s, the Department of Justice put legislation to fight terrorism.
Hello, Pegasus Lifestyle Management. How can I help you?
Took away many of our constitutional rights and civil liberties.
Thank you, sir. Your spectacular aircraft is now ready for you at our nearest airfield.
I've got her name on my file somewhere. That before this passes, people will have to be killed. Well, so that was the reason I feel for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us, good guys, there were only 6 people killed. Not enough to pass the legislation. So what happened is 3 years later, 2 years later, April 19, 1995, down comes Oklahoma City Murrah building, 168 people killed. 1 year later, the anti-terrorism legislation that takes away many of our constitutional rights and civil liberties is passed. And now with the Twin Towers World Trade Center episode, our Congress is now proposing further restrictions on our constitutional rights and civil liberties. These explosions, these terrorist acts, were an excuse to pass anti-terrorism legislation.
And then to implement.
And then, yes. And this is what's happening in the world today. And that's why our intelligence people are not only knew about it in advance, but probably involved. There's no question. You cannot possibly have an operation of this magnitude without our people knowing about it. Now, our government, the FBI.
Wait, when you say our government, I got to challenge it. This isn't our government.
Well,
it's the banksters' government.
Yeah, the banksters' government.
The government. Well, what do you think?
I have to say, I am so pleased to be here. I've waited 10 years to tell this story. I remember after 9/11 when my CIA handler, Richard Hughes, told me that there really wasn't going to be much of a 9/11 investigation. And we were going to try to keep it small. He said, small. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, we don't really need them to know everything. And I said, well, why? What do you think's going to happen when they find out that you didn't tell them the truth? Why don't you tell them the truth right now? And he said, well, it's not really what they want to do. So I had given out I was told straight off the bat that right after 9/11, my CIA $13 million payoff from the 9/11 investigation. And I ended up getting indicted on the Patriot Act. I was the second person in America ever indicted on the Patriot Act. And my crime was opposing terrorism and going to Congress, and I had spoken to the staff of Senator John McCain and Senator Trent Lott, and I pounded them. I called their chiefs of staff, their legislative directors, and their foreign policy people, and I said, I'm an asset who covered Iraq and Libya at the United Nations, and I have a story to tell, and you need to hear what I have to say. And within 30 days, I am not making this up. This is actually, thanks to the Patriot Act, all of my phone calls to these offices are taped by the FBI, so I can actually prove that they occurred. And I have the dates, I have the actual phone conversations on tape. And within 30 days of those conversations, I woke up to hear the FBI pounding at my door. And I got up out of bed and I looked out the window, and there are men in flak jackets in my porch. And I opened the door, and they come into my house, and they're like, Ms. Susan, and the FBI agent is shaking. He's shaking. And he said, you are Susan Lindauer, you are hereby notified you are under arrest on the Patriot Act. And I said, what? You have the right to remain silent, anything you say, etc., etc. He read me my Miranda rights, and I was just like, what are you talking about? I'm making coffee. I'm not a bank robber. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a murderer. I haven't broken any laws that I can think of. And I have no idea what you say that I've done. He said, well, your attorney will explain it to you later on. Okay. That began a 5-year indictment, 5-year nightmare on the Patriot Act. I was never taken to trial. In 5 years, I was allowed one morning of testimony with 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses were a former chief of staff for a congressional member of Congress, and my old friend Park Godfrey, who verified the 9/11 warnings that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to let you guys ask a lot of questions, and I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I'm going to do my best to answer as honestly as I can. I do not have all the answers, but I will tell you up front that I believe there was both the hijackings, and that does not mean that I'm right and you're wrong. I believe there were both hijackings and a controlled demolition scenario, and I'll explain to you how the whole thing fits together. And you may disagree, and that's okay if you disagree with me. But I can tell you, but when you hear what I have to say, you'll understand why I've reached this conclusion. So I believe both of them happened, okay? And it's also very important for you to know that as the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 comes up, no offense, but you guys have no idea what actually happened. This is like the lies are so much bigger than what you know. And it's so much deeper, and it's so much more tragic once you have the truth. So on that note, let me just take you to, I'm actually going to start...
They might mainly work government contracts, but that doesn't make Merryweather Security even nearly the good guys. Not like us. You've got the green light to resupply with some railguns they've got at Humane Labs. Take what you can and go back to the base.
They had not yet declared that George Bush had won the election. I was having meetings with the full knowledge and permission of the CIA, with Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations on resuming the weapons inspections. It is very important for you to understand that this story with 9/11 also ties in deeply to what happened with Iraq. And contrary to everything you were told, the Iraqis were not resistant to weapons inspections. They had a comprehensive agenda. The CIA had already a comprehensive agenda for resolving the entire conflict without war at all. And it involved weapons inspections, cooperation with anti-terrorism, and major financial contracts for U.S. corporations. And oil. And this would be developed over a period of time. But we already had, by November of 2000, we already had an agreement with the Iraqi government. We had a framework agreement that was, at that point, it was undefined and not so well defined, and we had to make it defined. But they had already consented to all of these things. They wanted peace with us. And so by February of 2001, the Iraqis had agreed to invite the FBI to send a task force into Baghdad with authorization to conduct terrorism investigations and to make arrests of terror suspects. This is very important for you to understand. So this is like the background of what you have to know. Okay. In April of 2001, I was summoned to this is already happening. The Comprehensive Peace Framework, those discussions are already underway. And I am, at this point, the chief asset covering the Iraqi embassy and the Libya house, both of them. I do both of them. And Yemen and Syria and Egypt and Malaysia. But Iraq and Libya are my primary countries. And so I'm a back channel, which means that the U.S. government gives me messages to give the Iraqis, and then the Iraqis give me messages to give to Washington. So I know everything. Every single conversation is going through me. And I can tell you that in April of 2001, I was summoned to my CIA handler, Dr. Richard Cruz, and he said he had a message for me to deliver to New York at the earliest possible convenience. And the message was this: we are looking for information on conspiracy to hijack airplanes. We expect the target to be the World Trade Center. We think they're going to fly the airplanes into the World Trade Center. And we want the Iraqis to provide it's called actionable intelligence. Actionable intelligence is a name, airport hub, flight number, something that can help us identify who they are, where they're meeting, what their nationalities are, anything like this. And he gives me a message, and he says, we want this information, and I want you to tell the Iraqis that if they fail to give us this information, and if it is later determined that they knew the information and they did not give it to us, then the United States is prepared to use war with Iraq. Okay, this is April 2001. Well, I went up to New York, and we were in the middle of these great negotiations. We already had an invitation from February of 2001. We had an invitation for the FBI to come to Baghdad. So I go up to New York. I'm very pleasant. I'm very polite. There's no reason to be nasty with these people. They want peace. I say, hey, could you please send a message to Baghdad? We'd like this information. If you come across anything, Saddam has been one of our best sources on terrorism throughout the 1990s. Iraq hated terrorism because they believed that they hated Islamic jihadis. He did. Whether you like Saddam or not, whether you hate Saddam or not, he hated Islamic conservatives. He was convinced that they would take advantage of the crumbling of authority in Baghdad under the sanctions, and that they would then try to overturn his government, and the poverty of the people from the sanctions would fuel this problem, would help overturn his government. with us at every turn to keep these people, from becoming too powerful. Okay. And so we knew this. So when I go to New York in April of 2001, I'm very friendly, and I say, hey, look, could you send a message to Baghdad? Let them know we're looking for this. Thanks. And the message from the Iraqis in April of 2001 is, hey, send the FBI. We've already agreed to send the FBI. We've already invited you to send the FBI. Come on. Tell them just bring them on. Sure. Wow. You didn't know that, did you? Okay. So I go back to Washington, and I get a phone call from the police. Come down to my office. I want to hear what they said. I go down, I said, oh, I was very quiet. I did the message, sure. He said, I didn't tell you to be nice. I told you to tell those, this is going to be on television, isn't it? Okay, I'll stop what he said. He was like, you go back to, you stupid, goddamn blankety. I told you to tell those SOB MFers, God, GD, blah, blah, screaming, circling me around his conference. I'll never forget it. Circling his conference desk, ranting away, waving his arms around. He didn't do that very often. He does not have that kind of personality. He's a very calm man, and he feels that if you're really angry at somebody, then the more calm you are, the more dangerous you are. That's CIA. The old school CIA. Okay, so he's screaming now. And I go back, he's like, you go back to New York and you deliver the message exactly the way that I told you to deliver the message. I said, well, Richard, I don't want them to think I'm threatening them because, I believe in, negotiations and conflict resolution. He said, no, I don't want them to think you are threatening them. And he said, I don't want them to think I am threatening them. I want you to tell them this threat of war originates at the highest level of government, above the CIA director, and above the Secretary of State. That it would be three men: President George Bush, Vice President Dick Cheney, and Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, and no one else. Those are the three people who are threatening war. And I want to be really clear about the message that I was ordered to give them. We demand that you turn over any fragment of intelligence outlining a conspiracy involving airplane hijackings and a strike on the World Trade Center. If you withhold this information, we discover that you have withheld this information, and the attack occurs, then we will bomb you back to the Stone Age. You will be bombed harder than you've ever been bombed before. You will be destroyed. You've never been hit the way we're going to hit you now. Okay, so I went up and I delivered that message. This is May of 2001. In June and July, practically every single week, my CIA handler, Dr. Richard Hughes, and I talked about 9/11. And it was very clear that the intelligence community was being prepped for two things. One, to expect airplane hijackings. Now, I have to be honest with you, because I know a lot of you are interested in the controlled demolition. They prepped us to expect the airplane hijackings. They told us about it. Like my CIA handler demanded that Iraq had to give us this, and they insisted that if it happened, there would be dire consequences. Now, what you're going to see in my book, and we have more copies of my book outside. We've got more here too. There was something else going on that summer that was really beautiful. This peace framework that we had been working on was magnificent. It was turning out just glorious for a peace dividend. The Iraqis were now offering the weapons inspections, which of course the United States had very rigorous standards for the weapons inspections. Iraq was offering cooperation with terrorism to allow the FBI to go in, and Iraq started to offer a lot more came on the table. By June and July of 2001, Iraq was offering the United States preferential contracts. Now think about the economy today. Preferential contracts for the United States corporations on telecommunications, healthcare, hospital equipment, pharmaceuticals, transportation. Iraq offered to buy 1 million American manufactured automobiles every year for 10 years. Think of what that would have done to the economy. Think about non-dual use factory production. And all of this was because the CIA was was like, you know, if we're going to give up these darn sanctions, we're going to take a pound of flesh with it. They had no, you know, and whether you like the CIA or not, most of you, 99% of you don't like the CIA. I realize that, of course. But the CIA was doing what it's supposed to do, whether you like it or not. They were taking care of what is in the best interest of the United States government, or the best interest of the United States economy, and they were not going to let Iraq punish the United States. And I hated the sanctions. I was doing this because I hated the sanctions. I was doing it because I thought, because they had destroyed education. They wiped out literacy in a single generation. They destroyed the hospitals and the healthcare system. Iraq performed the second heart transplant in the world, and we wiped them out. Okay? 11,000 people died every month. By the end of 1996, 500,000 children had died of sanctions, and they only counted 5-year-olds and younger. They didn't even count the 6-year-olds because the United Nations was holding back the numbers. And after that report in December of 96, they stopped counting it. The United Nations never published another report on the deaths. So frequently what you will hear is that only 500,000 children died, but in fact they continued to die, and approximately 1 million children died. They were babies. They weren't even alive when the first Gulf War happened. This was an offense against, you know, this is genocide. This is a mass genocide. So that's my motivation. But the CIA did not have my motivation. They were out to make sure that the United States was not going to be punished for what they had done. And I was like, and believe me, by this point, we just wanted to get rid of the sanctions. The Iraqis were like, if they don't get rid of the sanctions, you bet. We'll give them anything they want. So before 9/11, you could have had every single thing you possibly could dream of. And if the CIA could have thought of more to ask for, we would have. We would have asked for, it was shameless. Okay, so you have peace that's breaking out in the Middle East. You have the 9/11 warnings. And then in August of 2001, we went into high activity mode. I can tell you the exact day, on August 2nd, and after I tell you this, I'll open it up to questions. On August 2nd was the Senate nomination hearings for Robert Mueller to head the FBI. He was going to be the FBI director. And I was on the phone with my PA, and I said, there's not one single terrorism investigation this man hasn't thrown. That's okay. He threw the Oklahoma City bombing investigation. He threw Lockerbie. And I said, this man should not be the FBI director when this mass occurs. And Richard Hughes said to me, my God, what if there is no FBI director?
We lost Trey!
I said, do you think it's that soon? Do you think the attack is imminent? He said, oh yeah. He said, it's absolutely just in the next couple of weeks. He said, I don't want, and I said, well, God, Richard, I'll go back to New York right now. And I'll pump the Iraqis and see if they've got anything from Baghdad. I'll see if they have any news for us. And he said, oh my God, Susan, do not go back to New York City.
My partner got hit.
It's too dangerous. We are expecting the use of a miniature thermonuclear device. And they were not afraid that I was going to be hurt by, like, falling debris in the World Trade Center. I wasn't going to be at the World Trade Center. They were afraid of radiation contamination, like the winds blowing the radioactive stuff. And that's what he was like, don't go up there. We expect a mass casualty. And I said, well, Richard, I'll go up there, the day after. This was I can tell you the exact day. It was a Thursday. And I said, I will go up to New York on Saturday, and I'll report to you on Monday, and we'll just find out if the Iraqis have anything to give us. I went up to New York, and the Iraqis said, ain't got nothing. We don't know. We don't know anything about this. You keep telling us about this. The only way we know about it is because you're talking about it. Well, we don't have any information to give you. And if we did, we understand the consequences. We know that if we don't help you, you're going to go to war with us if you think we did. And if there was anything we could give you, we would do it. So I go back and I report that on August 6th. On August 6th, there is a memo to the president telling him that this is a high security threat, that it is an emergency level, that it's imminent.
Oh my God! They shot him!
At my meeting with Richard Hughes does something very important. He tells me that because of my direct contact with the Iraqi media, one, I am perfectly positioned because everyone likes to think they're a rock and live here involved in terrorism to begin with. I should be going to contact Ashcroft's office, and I should tell them that we're looking for what's called an emergency broadcast alert across all agencies seeking any fragment of intelligence involving airplane hijackings and a strike on the World Trade Center identified specifically. And I make that phone call. My conversation with Hughes is August 6th. Probably August 7th, August 8th, I call them. And immediately I talk to I have a private phone number. See, you guys couldn't get this number, but I have it. Okay, I have the number inside the Attorney General's office. I'm not calling his switchboard. I'm calling his private staff. Okay? I'm calling his government liaison office. No, that's not true. I call his private internal office. There are about 20 members of his private staff. His legislative director is there. And they give me the office the phone number for the Office of Terrorism. They say, repeat exactly what you just told us and tell them. I am told that John Ashcroft said, those CIA people keep talking about terrorism, and they keep talking about this darn airplane hijacking, and they're so paranoid, and why do they keep bugging us about it? That's what I'm told they said. But I did what I did. And when I did that, I apparently tripped some wires because it denied the White House, it denied the Justice Department and the Attorney General's office of deniability, plausible deniability. And that's very important. And that is why they came after me so hard and tried to destroy me utterly. Because they could not admit to you that we had absolutely anticipated this. We knew it was going to happen exactly as it did go down. With one exception. And here's where and then I'm going to finish this and then I'll open the floor to questions. What I have learned since then, now all the things that I told you were things I did directly. So I'm telling you, I'm not relating what somebody else did or a conversation that somebody else had because it's been reported to me. This is direct primary knowledge from my own experience. But what I'm going to tell you now is from somebody else, okay? And so I distinguish these two things. I have been told that by somebody who saw the videos that at the World Trade Center on approximately August 23rd, and it could have been August 22nd, it could have been August 23rd. Okay, approximately August 23rd until approximately September 3rd. And again, it could be August, September 2nd. The spooks can be weird about this stuff. Okay, they could say, well, it wasn't September 4th. So no, it could have been September 3rd. Okay, it could have been September 2nd. Right? So within a couple of days of this, my friend says that at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, strange vans, and there were just maybe 3 of them, he said, but not just a couple. The way he put it was a couple of vans. So we're thinking 3, possibly 4, but most likely 3. A couple of vans arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning after the very important that they were able to identify the vans in make, model, color, and there were no markings on the vans, but the janitorial vans did have markings. And so they were able to distinguish that these are not the same vans. And they know how the janitorial trucks left the building, and they actually tracked the paths that the janitorial trucks took to drive home. Like the janitorial workers, they're driving down certain roads to get to the houses, and the FBI, the NSA folks tracked these people home. And he was quite convinced these were not the same trucks. And the CBI said at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, these trucks had never been in this building before. It was an anomaly. Definitely, it wasn't like it was going on for months and months. It was just continued. They showed up for 10 days, 10 to 11 days time, and they were never seen. And that's when they believe it. And they do believe, and my friend told me absolutely it was a thermate bomb. A a thermite bomb with it was a thermite bomb with potential sulfur in it. The sulfur makes it the important thing about a thermite bomb is it is an extraordinary heat-reducing bomb. It's molten steel. So it takes beams of steel and it turns it into molten steel, and it just everything underneath just sinks into the ground like what you saw. And it is a special U.S. military grade weapon. Okay, it is a military grade weapon. It's not something you could make ever in your kitchen or your garage or your living room. It is impossible to make this. This is a U.S. military weapon, and so I do believe that helps to explain some of the missing pieces. And I believe this what happened. They've known about the terrorist attack for months. There is a long-term thing. Assets are being watched. The so-called terrorists, but you want to think of them as whether they're real. Mohammed Atta was an asset trained by the United States government, supervised by the United States government. And I can assure you that assets, and I'm speaking directly from my own personal experience, assets are heavily controlled individuals. I was never dealing with Iraq and Libya without somebody paying extremely close attention to me at every stage, and my phones were tapped. I mean, at some point they acquired my house. When they had the handover of the 2 Libyan men, I went down to my basement the same day that they handed over the men, and my ceiling of my basement had been torn out, and there were cable wires dangling from the ceiling. About a dozen cable wires. And I had a contractor come over to my house and he said, wow, somebody really put a kick-ass stereo system in your house. That's amazing. He said, you have these wires going to every single room of your house, even in your bathroom. And I was like, oh. But yeah, he did things like this. He said it's everywhere. He said, you must have like a stereo system that just, rocks in this house. So anyway, but the point is that assets, there's no way that these assets could have functioned without everyone knowing.
You're through to your garage. You, need me to bring you a ride?
They could have hidden. They could not have disguised their actions.
I'll bring it by.
Even if they tried to disguise it, it wouldn't work. Believe me, it wouldn't work. No, it's impossible. Impossible. And so it's more likely that they were using Mohammed Atta to guide the conspiracy, to track the conspiracy, and then they discovered that they were bozo pilots, they were clowns, they weren't any good at this flying stuff, and now they had an agenda. And the agenda was that when this attack happened, they were going to go to war with Iraq. But oh gosh, we've got a problem now. Because the problem is they're not going to be able to do the job. Oh, what's wrong with you? We're not going to be able to see, here's the thing about and I'm speaking now again from experience. The 1993 World Trade Center is nothing but 5 people. The bombing of the USS Cole killed 12 people. And once the smoke clears and the catastrophe, the chaos is over, and the noise is done, it's pretty, it's all, there's not a lot of damage that would certainly not enough that would allow a government, a pro-war power, to throw itself into a nuclear war, which they wanted to do. They've already decided to do it. And so, that is the motivation. The thing is, there can never be any police officer will tell you, there is no crime without a motive and opportunity. And we had both. So it's not like they just spontaneously wired the World Trade Center. They knew it was coming. They wanted to make sure that they had maximum damage. They knew they were going to use the airplanes as the cover to demolish the building. So it's not, a lot of people in the 9/11 truth community have gotten at first, when I first broke this news, they were like, a lot of people attacked me and they said, you're saying there were airplane hijackings. No, there was a demolition. And I'm like saying, no, there's both of it. Both things happened. They knew this. They knew that airplanes were going to be hijacked, so they used it as a cover to guarantee maximum destruction. The because they already knew the consequence of war. So, there you go. Okay, good. I was there, and it's called an asset. Right. I was an intelligence actor. I was supervised by I was not I couldn't do it. You guys, the American people had no idea that President Clinton had opened up a back channel because they didn't want you all to
Well done.
But in fact, from the very first meetings that I had at the Iraqi embassy and the Libyan embassy, they were told who I was. They knew that I was a passionate anti-sanctions activist and passionately anti-war. I hated the first Gulf War. I protested the Gulf War, and I wanted to do anything that I could to try to create a communications. They couldn't have a formal communications because of the sanctions. They were officially on the pariah list, and yet they had to have some kind of communications and discussion in order to on terrorism specifically.
You were back channel between everybody. I find it odd that your boss doesn't talk to the people in the administration.
Oh, they did.
They send you over there to yell at people.
Well, I think that he did. I know that he did. I know that he did. But what he did was, I believe, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe that he contributed to the White House memo on the presidential directive instruction request. There's a formal term for that. I'm afraid I don't know I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. He did contribute to that, and he had vastly more information than I did. I was getting all my knowledge from him, but the fact that we needed fast turnaround on this because we thought the attack was within a couple of weeks. In fact, the attack didn't occur for this was August 6th, and it occurred over a month later. But we thought that the attack could come as early as, the 3rd or 4th week of August. We thought it was imminent. And so, well, he probably did also. Everybody was doing it. See, this is the thing that, no offense, but there was so much discussion about this attack. Everybody was talking about it. George Tenet had some meetings. Other analysts had meetings at the White House that Condoleezza Rice had conveniently pretended didn't happen. But there was a lot of knowledge, and the fact that I would be able to get the Attorney General's attention and staff attention by saying I'm in direct contact with Iraq. That's kind of like a bona fide thing that in the CIA. That's they call it bona fide. Yeah, exactly. We were, and it wasn't like a supervisory thing at that point. They wanted someone with direct contact, because I had direct contact with the events, and I could cite that and say, you need to listen to me, because I spoke with the Iraqis on Saturday, and I need to tell you this. You see what I mean? So I'm sure he also did. I know he did other things too.
And of course, what I haven't heard is any real evidence that there was a genuine jihadi maybe that's unfortunate, but we haven't said anything that they claim. The impression I get from the other hand, I think my boss is
This is a very good question because it's really questionable that there was a jihadi plot. I do believe there were hijackers. Now, I have to tell you that I do believe there were hijackers. On the other hand, I know that the people that they did identify were assets. They worked for the United States government, and they were the men who were identified as the hijackers were not jihadis. They were not devoutly religious men. They went to strip clubs, they drank alcohol, they smoked cigarettes, they chased women. Real deep, authentic jihadis would do none of that. They were, and so it's really curious to me as to what I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately, but what their final minutes this on this earth, what did they think they were doing? I really do not know. I don't know if they thought it was just a training exercise. I don't know if they thought, I just don't know. But I do not believe they were real jihadis. Here's the thing. They did fly into the building. Of course, they did. And they could have been on automatic pilot. That makes sense. We know that there was a heightened GPS and a heightened cell phone activity that is very unusual. Usually the GPS only works it doesn't work at certain altitudes. And at a scale of like 1 to 10, the GPS signal was working at a 10, whereas ordinarily it might work at a 4. See? And so something was helping boost, and it had to be boosted. It couldn't have just spontaneously done this on its own. Something had to be boosting the GPS signal. And it's just a matter of scientific requirement that it had to be boosted, and it was.
If guns are a penis substitute, this is the schlong section.
The cell phone conversations did not happen. I do believe they did happen. I do believe that people got.
Shut up, but shut up.
Again, you see that it
Shut up.
had to be there had to be some technological.
They wasn't on a plane.
For it to be done, and I think that the hijackers got a lot of help. They got a lot of help.
Ooh. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
But without a lot of information, this just makes no sense. What, if you consider the problems I'm having, if you consider folks like Russ Baker's family secret, Andy Jacobson, Area 51, that was in that stuff. And the last one that you read was Diamond Voice, America.
Yes.
And,
good. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just so relevant. So, how can you expect us, knowing the corruption of moral character, right? I think knowing where we're at is scary capacity, in essence, the big picture.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of interested in you in part of it, because I'm sure there are people that are dedicated in the CIA that are trustworthy.
Well,
I mean, I'm trustworthy in the sense that their motivations are clear. But I think overall, considering all the torture and the long history that it's had, you can't believe anything. Basically, you can't. You just don't know. There's so much spin with it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not dedicated individuals. I think there are.
Sure.
Sure. So, what I'd like to get from you in part is first of all, your picture of the big overall. What's the primary motive to
on a couple of levels. First of all, the CIA has a long track record of doing false flag operations on itself. And one of the reasons that I may be more trustworthy is that I was an asset, not a CIA director. My CIA handler received $13 million tax-free. Didn't even have to pay $1 in taxes. Is that not the sweetest thing you've ever heard in your life? From the 9/11 investigation of emergency appropriations that were intended for the Iraq to secure Iraq's cooperation. And he took the money, and you've never heard him speak. And when I was under indictment, my own CIA handler refused to speak to my attorneys for 5 years. If he had spoken to my attorneys at any time at all, we could have ended my indictment entirely. But the other thing is that the reason you should trust me is because I paid for this. I was locked up in prison on a military base for a year, and I was held under indictment for 5 years. And the government was so, if you do a little research on my story, you'll find the government was so threatened by what I was going to say that they actually argued this is like a record. There's a history of this. You can confirm this. They wanted to forcibly drug me with Haldol, Ativan, and Prozac, which would have chemically lobotomized me, because they said that I was. They admitted that I was not hallucinating. I do not suffer depression. For those of you who do suffer depression, sorry, but I don't. I don't have mood disturbances. They said I had good eye contact. I was cooperative, smiling. They could not identify anything wrong with me except that I argued my defense was I had worked in anti-terrorism for 9 years, and I warned about 9/11, and my team warned about 9/11, and they tried to detain me up to 10 years. They actually petitioned the court for the right on the Patriot Act for the right to detain me up to 10 years in prison with no trial and no hearing. Imagine that. The government's arguing that we don't have to give this woman a hearing. We can just lock her up indefinitely. And I was the test case on this, and it was horrible. And they wanted to lock me up and forcibly drug me at the same time, so that I would be so destroyed. They told the judge that they had no idea how long my cure.
Okay, we're gonna get this equipment. First up, we gotta collect the van from outside my garment factory.
The judge in my case was Michael Casey. Michael Casey later became U.S. Attorney General, and I fought so hard.
You've got the van. I'll come back to you with details on what to do next. You see, I've split a larger task up into a series of smaller, easily achievable goals. Got that from a management book. Does it make you like me more? Do you feel like you're working more effectively? Okay, at least you're not thinking about having to kill people.
They didn't want to tell you what was going on. They said that they implied very strongly that I was a religious maniac, and I do believe in God, and I have a spiritual life. Yes, I do, but I'm not a religious maniac. I guess a religious maniac would be someone like Elizabeth Smart, Rachel, kidnappers, singing up, standing up and singing hymns in church, stuff like that. They were illegal.
Okay, now take out the competition. Equipment in the alley's gotta go before you swap across the equipment. They can't know which van the box is in.
They had already, the Justice Department had already petitioned for civil government. I was waiting for a decision. And one morning, I was locked up in prison at this point. I had been held at Carswell Air Force Base for 8 months, and then I was moved to the Correctional Center in New York for 4 months. And one morning, at 5:30 in the morning, the guard wakes me up and says, "You won't close it." And I'm like, "You tell me, there's not much send me back to I was absolutely hysterical. I'm getting to the courtroom, and they didn't hold in case about the size of the table. And they come in and say, "Oh my God, someone has started a blog on your case. People are writing your death. They're writing death notices. You got like, we are never going to stop. We are going to fight to defend this Constitution. You are breaking the law, and we are never going to shut up until this is done. You can tell that crooked prosecutor that he can just go to hell, because we're going to keep talking until, you're never going to shut me up now. This is a mistake. This was a huge mistake that they did this to me. And we went in, and the judge was like, so. And at that point, Jay had published psych records. When I actually my arrest, I had been ordered to have this actually saved me. I had been ordered to attend weekly psychology meetings. I had never had any psychological problems, and I had a year's worth of documentation saying that I suffered no mental illness, no depression, no psychosis, no mania, nothing, no mood disturbances. And these are in the back of my book, so you can actually look at this stuff.
Shit, backup's incoming. They'll lead the crew away from the van with their equipment in it. Take them out to Vespucci. There's an alley the Vagos use. If you torch the van there, they might think you can get anything.
Why are these papers not in my courtroom? And the judge was like, this is just not fair. And at that point, I was this woman is not cooperating. If I didn't cooperate, they would have done it. If I had been passive, they would have done it. So, I'm a fighter. And they still wouldn't give me. And I know how to fight. I'm an activist and an activist. Believe me, I know how to fight. And it was like the Patriot Act was so hideous, so big, so powerful, that there was nothing that they were doing.
Pedestrians helping them out and everything. Oh, shit.
Financial case on 9/11. The insurance company. So Larry said,
what the fuck going on here?
They go for attention. It was very cozy. And they also accused me of they called it unlawful financial transaction. I'm not making this up. Eating.
I mean, the pedestrians acting a donkey.
3 lunches with Iraqi diplomats cost $93.92. We have
Okay, she's got the stuff.
and they called that a felony. I was accused of, there were secret charges against me, which we had to do. We were never allowed to have those. But let me just tell you a little bit, because I think it's a good opportunity to explain. When I was indicted, under the Patriot Act, they're allowed to have secret charges and secret evidence and secret grand jury testimony. This is very much, the Patriot Act is modeled on the pretty much verbatim, in many page upon page, identical to the old communist criminal, let's see, I guess it's the Soviet, there's a long name for it, the Soviet Criminal Act, which set up the KGB apparatus and allowed people to make make accusations against their neighbors without identifying themselves. And it set up the whole Gulag system. And the Patriot Act is modeled on that Soviet law, the Soviet Criminal Act. And it's almost verbatim to what that is. So, this is a really scary, scary law. That I was accused of, possibly, in the secret charges, we believe the secret charges was that I received a book from the Iraqis that was a book on depleted uranium, and that was considered classified because if we were to tell American soldiers about the health risks and the rise of cancer rates and birth defects, then it might demoralize American soldiers. Okay? And another thing was that Saddam's government tried, I'm not making this up, another secret charge was that we believe, because I know what I was doing in the periods when of these they'd have a date, and I would know approximately what I was doing on that date. And so another one was that the Iraqis tried to give the Bush administration several $100,000 in campaign contribution, so that during the presidential election, because they wanted to show that they wanted to be friends with America. And I had reported that to my defense intelligence handler. He was like, holy shit, you gotta tell the Iraqis not to do this. You gotta make them not do this.
No friggin' way! Oh, God!
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as people, inherently anti-security, opposed to secret society, secret oath, and secret proceedings. We decided long ago the dangers of accepting large and secret. First, in fact, our outrageous dangers. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that the pronounced need for increased security, caused by those anxious to expand its team, very much the and concealment. That I do not intend to permit and to within my control. No official of my administration, who is ranked as high or low, civilian or military, will interpret my words here tonight. Cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silent, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, the secret is revealed. No president should scrutiny of his program. For from that scrutiny
It's
comes
the general.
understanding.
There's the boss.
From that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I'm not asking the newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. It means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. So it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.